I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to come down to the relaunch of the Disabled Students Society. And for those of you unaware, my name is Richard Craig. Apparently I'm important, and I'm going to be the newly elected Disabilities Rep Officer with the union as of next year, and we'll be hoping that the acting committee for the society will be able to work with the disability services here at the uni and with the union to create a network or support group for disabled students around the university. And now I'd like to first of all give all yourselves a round of applause for turning up. So good, I can imagine there's more. And I'd like to hand over to Aimee to carry on.
Thank you. I'm going to apologise really now because I don't do speeches, but hi, I'm Aimee Turner. I'm a president of the society because, well, I have loads of ideas on how to help disabled students at our university. My lovely person here is Richard Craig, who's our treasurer. Society of Secretary Keely White can't be here because she's unwell, but we have faith in her that she will be an absolutely fantastic secretary for us. There's lots of ideas for next year, as you can always see. Some was on events and awareness days, including Spectrum awareness, which I stand for, and autism awareness, which Richard had. We also want to raise money for charities by the Just Giving website, which means the money will go directly to the charity. We also want to work with the university to further develop the support services and with the Disabled Students Forum to make sure that disabled students are getting the funding and getting the help they so rightly deserve. We also have accessible stations, and I was thinking this would be about making the stations wheelchair accessible and that there's a quiet environment so that people don't become too stressed out. We also work with university's core schools to educate the educators, that's a mouthful, about disability. This may take a while because from my opinion some lecturers are very unaware of a lot of disabilities. We also have informal sessions to students about disability, which will, for example, a person with dyspraxia will talk about dyspraxia, a person with autism will talk about autism, and I'm now passing on to Richard, who's going to talk about his blog called Honorary Talks.
Cool. Hello again. As you can see, that handsome gentleman on the right-hand side picture, but as a slightly slimmer me, and what I used to do before coming to uni and still do a bit part-time is what's called autism advocacy. So I would go into schools and speak to pupils and to teachers about what autism is and what it isn't, to kind of, well, to inform, educate and get rid of a lot of the misconceptions that are out there. I think one of my favourite questions of all time was, "Hi mate, can you like catch it or something if I sneeze like in it?" Which, you know, was good fun. But I think, as Aimee rightly said, you could be someone who's researched these disabilities, but it won't amount to the same experience and knowledge as someone who is born and raised with that particular condition. So it's a lot more powerful when it comes from a horse's mouth, as the old saying goes. So I will carry on now. Let's have a look. Now, earlier this week, there was the Stop Hate conference, which was organised by a student called Sandra and her colleagues, which went very well. I was unable to attend the whole event, but I was there for a gentleman called Stephen Brooks, MBE, who was speaking on the topic of disability hate crime. He is an ambassador for the organisation Disability Rights UK, and also has a passion about raising awareness for disability hate crime. Now, disability hate crime is similar to other hate crimes, so that if somebody was to be assaulted or verbally, physically because of their race or religion, that's a race hate crime or a religious hate crime. So if somebody assaults someone verbally or physically because they're disabled, that's classed as a disability hate crime. And there was a story which was very hard to stomach that he brought out from the event, which I'm going to repeat, but I'm going to stress now, it's maybe distressing, and so if you're prone to distressing things, put your hands over your ears for the next couple of minutes, well, for the next minute. But he highlighted that a woman with epilepsy who was wheelchair bound was heading home from a night out and had an epileptic seizure, which caused her to collapse out of a chair, and she was seizing in the middle of the street. Now, some young men, I don't know if you could call them men, came across her in the street and decided to help her by urinating on her, then by kicking her, and then finding cleaning products and pouring it on her body. Luckily she survived, and when the police finally caught the perpetrators, they said, "We're not going down for some mug," and then proceeded in court to say that they did it because she thought it was drunk and it was funny. So while we're very fortunate that events like these are very few and far between in Preston and the community at large here, we have to be vigilant, and the hate crime conference was a huge eye-opener to a lot of people and a great way of highlighting that we all must remain vigilant, as I said before. And I think that campaigns like this and the hashtag Say No campaign and everything else that the likes that our campaigns officer have been doing have been very, very supportive and inclusive for disabled students. So that's something we obviously want to carry on. Now, to move away from the slightly depressing mood, I'm now going to hand over to Aimee again.
You do not choose to be disabled. Disability does not mean inability. A disabled person capable of doing anything, but a person who's not disabled can do, and not every disability is visible. Therefore, you cannot assume that somebody who doesn't quote unquote look disabled, who doesn't look disabled, is not, because you don't know whatever other issues they have. Between me and Richard, we sort of came up with this whole hashtag, stop stigma, which is the idea that, well, stop the stigma against disabled people. And the following slides will show what we're tackling, which Richard will talk to you about.
So, as I mentioned slightly before about things about hate crime and so on, I think the last half decade have been a bit rocky for disabled people, as there's been a lot of perpetration in the press and in politics about disabled people, and I just want to go over some quick headlines from newspapers that I found which kind of highlight this attitude, if that makes sense. So the first one, Welfare Minister apologises after saying disabled people aren't worth minimum wage, suggesting that disabled people should work for £2 an hour. Let's have a look. Next one, disability claimants are parasitic underclass of scroungers. Very encouraging words there. We have what here from The Guardian is disability hate crime, benefits scrounger abuse to claim, linking the idea that because of this press and political coverage like this, obviously not all of it's like this, but some of it is, basically stating is the rise of people experiencing disability hate crime because of this kind of attitude. A Paralympian mentioned that in 2012 there was a lot of support, lots of unity throughout the country for disabled people, and then by 2013 she was labelled a scrounger and unable to leave her home and things of that nature. So I'd love to do that to those kind of headlines, and I want to quickly go over one or two more. One was earlier this year, a controversy about cutting disability benefits for the tax break. This was U-turned by the government, thankfully, and the Fit for Work controversy where people would be reassessed for disability benefit, found fit for work and not receive benefit, and then die shortly after. Current stats suggest that's over 2,300 people. And the United Nations now wants to investigate this government over violations of disabled people's rights. Now, I must stress before I go any further, anyone who knows me personally knows that I'm not a fan of the current administration. But I must stress, if this was the Labour Party, the Green Party, the SNP, the Raving Loony Party, the Pirate Party, whoever, and they were doing this, I would not be any less critical, if that makes sense. And I think, even though we're just a small society in a university in the Northwest, I think if we can do whatever we can to make disabled students' lives a little bit easier, then we will have succeeded in our objective.
Stop mistaking that. Let's get this trending. Let's show the students are compassionate, understanding, and fair. Support your fellow students, please.
So, those of you unaware, I went to the National Union of Students Disability Conference this year in Manchester, which was really, really good fun. It was like being an MP, but I couldn't swindle my expenses. And whilst there, I ended up speaking to a lot of great people about things like DSA and how support's going both in universities and out in the wider community. But while networking with some great people, I ended up speaking to someone from this institution, the Lancaster University Students' Union, and their disabilities rep, who coincidentally is also restarting a Disabled Students Society. So we're looking to hopefully next year bridge a relationship, of working relationship of some sort with one of our closest neighbours. How that'll work? No idea, but that's the exciting thing. It's something to look forward to. And at the Hague conference I mentioned, I spoke with the head of Disability Equality North West of the office in Preston, who are very keen to get involved with what we do campaigning-wise and raising money for various charitable organisations. Sorry, folks.
And I have some lovely statistics for you. One of our experience mental health conditions, taken into perspective, I worked out that's about 5 or 6 people in this room could at one point have a mental health condition. 1 in 6 people on the autistic spectrum, and about 10% of the population has dyspraxia. I personally think that both statistics actually are all a lot higher, especially after over 85 students are deciding to undergo a study, because the 80,000 only 2 in the seat of DSA. So therefore, actually a lot more students are disabled, so a lot more people have dyspraxia and autism because it's undiagnosed, and therefore, if you don't diagnose it, you're not included in the statistics.
Cool. Now, the first sponsored event we're going to do, well, I say we, it's me. I'm going to do a sponsored bike ride from here in Preston at Lawson Street all the way to Kendal in the Lake District, which is a distance of about 50 miles. And I am absolutely terrified that I've agreed to do this. For perspective, that's going around the Guild Wheel twice and a half, and it should be good fun. Now, I'm doing this to raise money for Mind, because this year I've had some mental health issues and I feel that it's a good charity to support. Now, I've got the link here, but I'll have this up again at the very end of the presentation, so those of you who wish to donate, please donate, can do so. Now, I would like to welcome to the stage, welcome to the podium, welcome to the forefront, a gentleman called Russell Hogarth. Hopefully I've spelled everything right, let's see. And he is our society patron, community ambassador, and chair of the Creative Communities Group. He's got a few slides that he'd like to put up, so I'll just put those up now. Where are we? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. Microphone, where are we?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move around a bit. Thank you. I can't remember notes, yeah, I'll just do my best there. I'll keep it there as that. It's an honour and a pleasure to be here and to be asked to be patron of the Society. Now you might wonder why I'm patron. It's because I have experience of disability, and I have had from the age of 17, when I was involved in a serious car crash, had to learn to walk again, hospitalised and rehabilitation for over 12 months. But I've also had a lifelong disability with dyslexia, which is now classed as a mental health problem, and learning difficulty. But I want to show you about this problem I've had, because it didn't actually stop me from having some little bits of success in life. So my dyslexia was very similar to this gentleman. I don't know if you recognise this chap or not. It's not me at a younger age, it's Steve Jobs. This is the guy that brought us Apple and iPhones and all the other things. And okay, that is a school that I went to where I was diagnosed with word blindness, which then became dyslexia. And I was told that would be a barrier to education and employment. I think right with the wrong age. I am. We're getting it there. But despite all that, I managed to go to this place, which is Catholic College. And I did quite well at college. It closed in 1978, which gives you an idea of how old I am, sadly. I'm certainly much older than you guys in the audience. But then I went on to two other sort of successes. I was published last year by Macmillan's, despite my dyslexia. It's available in all the bookstores. There I am. Bless me, cotton socks. But one or two other things happened as well, because that was my first car, but my business went from strength to strength, and I suddenly started to move around in cars like this, which were quite desirable. Then I got into classic cars, Jensen Interceptors. Then I got into private number plates, which also became quite a profitable business. Then I got into mobile phones. The Yuppie came along. The Yuppie was great news for me because they bought Porsches, mobile phones and number plates off them. And other things happened as well, because I was born there. Anybody recognise that? If you come out of the library, you'll see a row of houses opposite. And that's where they are. Not many left now. That was the view from my backyard. But things changed very quickly for me. I ended up moving into that when I was very young. I bought that out of the profits from my business. And other things changed as well, which was Butlins. Used to holiday in Butlins. Anybody know Butlins? That was a destination for me. Well done, young man. That was a destination for me and my family. That's me on the beach, by the way. And things moved again to nice exotic holidays and nice forms of transport. And then I got into these things, which are power boats. And then I retired at 48 and came here and got into academia. That resulted in an honorary fellowship and a role as community ambassador. I now chair the honorary fellows and have an office in the business school. And that's me and Sir Richard, who also sits on the committee that I chair with other members of the university. So as you can see, disability doesn't always have to let you down. And I made a real catchy note, didn't I? You loved it. What did I say? It was great. I said, I never see the disability in people, only the ability. And I often say to people who have said to me I must have been lucky, I do say I don't believe in luck. What I believe in is preparation, meeting opportunity. And that opportunity that you meet has to be acted on within the lifetime of that opportunity. Well, thank you for listening to me. I hope to be able to support the Society for as long as you want me. My door is always open. And thanks for inviting me to be a patron. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. No, I'm doing the wrong way now. Sorry. Sorry. This is you.
This is a screenshot of how to join the MSU website. You go to sports societies, men's societies, find us and join. Also, you can see we've got links to our Facebook page and our Twitter page that Richard set up because I had no idea what I was doing with it. That's my favourite bit, by the way. Contact Q&A and hit like that.
So,
we have our Twitter link, mine, Richard and Cooley's email addresses, and the link to Richard's bike by Rich. I wish you luck doing because it's got to be hard. I admire you so much for doing that in mind. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, please
don't mind.
set them up. What we ultimately are hoping is that when everyone leaves here, we'll tell everyone about this amazing society's plans for next year, so that as staff, if a student comes to you who's got a disability, you can say, hey, we've got a society at BSU, disabled students, to help form this kind of network of disabled students, as it were, like a support group and all that good stuff, because as Amy said earlier, socials and things like that can be a bit, I wouldn't say intimidating, but not disability friendly, whether it's, you know, you can't get into a club because it doesn't have wheelchair access, or for a nightclub for people with sensory overload conditions, or there's lots of factors that people don't sit in, and people are freshers, disability or not, you know, we're here at uni, we're here to study, but we're also here to have some fun, contrary to probably. But yeah, we'll hopefully be doing a lot of good stuff in the future. So
a lot of food events as well we've planned.
yeah,
But for food, I don't need to say any more about that.
yeah, free food. If we have any more bribery, then that's what we need. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, please shout them out. Yeah, go on.
I was really keen to hear about how you think the society is linking with our disability and wellbeing services on campus, because I think that's a critical link we're missing at the moment.
Yeah.
And particularly with all the DSA reforms, we need the student voice to help us ensure that we're heading in the right direction with the type of support that we're leading on. Also, the other question that I have is about we had over 1,000 students at UCLan this year declare a disability either on enrolment or application, and despite our constant badgering, not follow up on any form of support with us, which is fine. Some students don't want support, but I'm absolutely convinced that somewhere in that 1,000 there are students who do want and need support. And have you got any bright ideas that could help us?
I think all we could do is just encourage them to get the support that we need. And what we've got us to say how the support has helped us, because I've got a cover sheet, so it said, so when people mark my work, we take into account that I am a disabled student. We also get extra time in exams and a separate room, which for me reduces anxiety. So I feel if I'm a student, you know, this helps out me, I might go, oh actually, that'd be a really good idea for me. Yeah.
I think.
Is that answer?
Well, I think as part of my role as disability rep next year, one of the things I want to do is have more students engage with the services you're talking about, because if you guys don't know what we seek, then you know your department could go out and say, right, we're going to go and do this, spend tens of hundreds of pence on them, and then them not be effective. Whereas if we say, right, well, we really need X, Y, and Z, then
that's
that can be
exactly what we
targeted.
need, because with the DSA reform, it's an opportunity for us. The ball is now in our court, is we're not bound as much now by the strict the DSA rules for lots of types of support, so we can devise our own. We need you to help us.
I'm just thinking that I've known people who have really struggled in certain areas of academia that haven't been diagnosed, who have really struggled, and I personally think they might have like dyslexia or something like that. But then I think that the cost of actually being tested and various other factors and putting them off actually like going for help, it's really frustrating seeing these people. You speak to them, they know what they're talking about, and they should do their assignments or the work they're going to struggle, so they must need help.
Yeah, it's really interesting because today we've been piloting a system called Quick Scan, which is a tool that we've purchased as a university, so it will be free for students to access, should your academic staff as well feel that you. And it's really quick and easy. And Jane tried it herself today, she's guinea pig. And we were really impressed with it. And what that does is it does show, in their opinion, which is a quick scan, so it's easily attentive if you have dyslexia or things. But even if it says we don't think you do, what you actually get is a great learning style plan. So really useful for you, but really useful for your academic staff as well. This is how they need to learn. This is the types of things that are going to be useful to them. We were really impressed. Lancaster actually already use it, that's where I got it from. We have great links with Lancaster.
Yeah, which is what I've done now, but we've decided to do.
Yeah, I would think so.
Can I raise an observation for both of you? I'm from the business world. I've got a question about the business anyway. But actually, if people aren't using the services maybe as much as they might do, actually a good way to, you'll know this probably, but a good way is to use case studies of people that have used the service and do the storytelling and get the press, get your press people to do the storytelling behind it, so that it's raising awareness about. Actually, I didn't, some of that might be, I didn't realise that service was out there, or that's what they did, or that was the type of help available, and it could be something quite simple, but not complex.
I think that needs to come from students as well. If we put it together and they promote it, because when we often find we promote it, it tends to form really.
Yeah,
that's what we want to do, because we've got things set up for freshers, so we're right there, so any new eagle-eyed students can come and see us, and then they know we're here, and then from there we can say, right, if you need, to be stated, you go here. If you need this, you go here.
So we need to update you on what the offer is, don't we?
Yeah, so when we're like, here's a leaflet of all the services UCLan has.
With the case studies, people on the case studies, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because it makes it real for people then. At the moment on the Guardian website, there's a couple of really good short videos about people dealing with autism. And they're just done so well. They're edited really well and everything. They're quick and easy to watch, but they're really hard hitting. We can get something like that up there that will reach more and more students.
Yes.
And if students are prepared to help us do that, that would be really, really good. So we can, that would be excellent, Richard.
Consider it in the to-do list.
Yeah, on the long to-do.
Very long to-do list, but it's in there. Excellent. Any questions?
Right, so an observation, as you know, Richard, we've got I'm running an event in June which is about mental well-being in the workplace, and that's about support for businesses and leaders and managers, raising awareness to them about mental health issues in their employees or in their employees' families, that sort of thing. So we're doing that. It strikes me there's an opportunity there to promote your bike ride and promote the mind's mind within that. So I'd like a conversation with you about that. But the other question is, what else can the business community do, perhaps, to help you guys, gain some more traction?
Well, I think that it's a lot, as we were saying before about stigma, I think there's a lot of things that we can all do about educating employers. I'll give an example of, say someone with autism, they have a specific skill set, interest in cars, and they apply to be a salesman at a car showroom. They have the potential to be the best salesman that showroom's ever seen. But if they, put down the form of they've got autism and the employer's not very well educated, they may be discouraged from hiring them. Now, what I suggest there isn't legal because of legislation that's in place to say that you can't discriminate based on someone's disability, gender, etc. But I think it was BBC Panorama did an example where they had sent out, I think, 50 job applications. On one of them they had somebody state that they were physically disabled, someone stated that they had dyslexia, and someone else said that they were, that field was blank. Business as a whole needs to do. There's a brilliant series called Employable Me on the BBC, Employable Me, where people with various disabilities gain work experience, and in a lot of cases the companies are taken aback by how efficient they are in the workplace, and it's all about taking account.
So I think my impression is I could probably find you opportunities if you wanted them to talk in front of business people, to talk about that type of issue, really. And I guess it's about think about the ability in these people, not the disability, as we've
Yeah.
talked about.
That'd be
So
great.
if you're interested in that, we can
Definitely. Cool. Any other questions? Super. Well,
Well, thank you for coming.
thanks for coming. We'll stick around for a bit if you guys want to chat and
Yeah.
all that good jazz. And thank you for coming.